first instance with them. But broccoli, man, that's love at the first sight. I eat it raw, I eat it cooked, I eat it. به پادکست زعفرونی خوش اومدید. Kia ora, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Saffrony Podcast. I'm Amir, your host, and in this episode, I'm going to talk to a very good friend of mine about how he chose to be a vegetarian. Okay, he's a meat lover. Well, he was a meat lover. Then he became one of the vegetarian advocates. Then he completely changed his diet into vegetables, no meats whatsoever. And although he was exercising at that time, but he continued to be a vegetarian. I'm going to just have a very friendly and casual chat outside of the judgments and, you know, the media and the pressure and the slogans, I'm going to just ask him how he experienced that change in his diet. And, well, you will know that if he's still a vegetarian or not. In this studio of mine, Zohaib Rana is my guest. Welcome, Zohaib. Thank you for being in the show.
Thank you so much, Amir, for having me. It's an honor to be interviewed by the Prince.
The honor is all mine, and I insist. How are you, man? How are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's evening over here. And I was just napping for a little bit. So I'm feeling fresh and ready for very challenging questions that I'm sure you're going to ask me.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Speaking of the challenges, I'm the man of bringing the challenges on the desk right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start from the fresh. What was your motivation to change your diet into a vegetarian diet?
I think the main motivation for me was health more than anything. I had put on a lot of weight. I was around 88, 89 kgs for my height, which I think was quite a lot. I wasn't feeling healthy. I didn't feel very energetic. So I was looking forward to trying new things in my life. Of course, I also was into a lot of sports, and I felt like my sports performance was reducing. I came across a documentary called The Game Changers. So it's a documentary about veganism, which I would highly recommend everyone to watch. It presents an interesting thesis for why people should adopt a vegan diet and how vegan diet can bring in benefits for your health. So that's how my veganism journey basically started.
Okay, listen, I'm doing exercise as well, okay? When I want to reduce the weight, I go on a diet. I mean, I reduce the fat intake, I rarely eat fast foods, just try to deprive my soul from having high cholesterol foods, adding more days to exercise regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary to remove the animal protein from your diet?
That's a very interesting point. I think, the thing is, the way the documentary sold it was that that veganism would have immense benefits. I'd speak about it as well, but I also would like to really highlight to our viewers that it is so important to basically confirm the truth from a variety of sources. So I think when we as scientists, I think it's very important to confirm from multiple like literature papers and really triangulate the truth. So 100%, that's a good point, that for health I can exercise and could have still kept to an animal a diet. But then why did I choose veganism? Well, I started to note some very interesting changes in my body. First of all, I had consistent energy levels throughout the day. So my energy levels were always quite high. My thought process was very clear, and because these things were there, right, and I had energy, basically it made it easier for me to exercise. So let's say I come back home, and generally what would happen is, if I was on an animal diet, then I basically would come back home feeling really lethargic, and I would possibly not be able to go out for exercise. So with when I was a vegetarian vegan, then it became a lot easier for me to do that. Also, I noticed one thing, that no matter how much vegan food I was eating, and this, I'm not saying take it as a medical advice or anything like that, it was completely an individual's observation, but I felt like I was losing weight without even trying when I was on a vegan diet. So as I'm saying, I was around 86, 88 kgs at the time. Within a period of 3 to 4 months of being vegan, I actually had lost around 6 kgs without even trying. So that to me was quite an astounding change. Of course, then there are like other factors as well, like your cholesterol levels. Of course, plant-based diets don't have any cholesterol, so there was no cholesterol. Of course, that potentially could have had an influence on my weight as well. So this is what it is in a nutshell, that I basically was feeling quite like energetic, healthy, and I was losing weight. And because of the kind of sports I did, I generally play a lot of cricket, badminton, tennis. Then I felt like I was much faster as well on the field.
عاشق زبان فارسیم.
حالا میخوایم که به براش چند تا کلمه یاد بگیریم. به مثل بابا.
Got a child interested in learning Farsi? With Oakland Farsi School, it's easy as pie. Enroll today at our website and see their progress.
Which vegetable was your favorite vegetable to eat?
Vegetables, I think out of the green vegetables, I know a lot of people will hate me for saying this, but I loved broccoli quite a lot. That was a beautiful vegetable. Surprisingly, I also love Brussels sprouts quite a lot. So that was another vegetable.
I'm with you with broccoli, but not with the Brussels. I don't like that.
Why do you have that again? Why do you have something against Brussels sprouts, man?
I don't know. They're just weird, man. They just look weird. I don't know.
I like the mouthfeel of the Brussels sprouts, actually.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Maybe I did not have a great encounter in the beginning, in the first instance with them. But broccoli, man, that's love at the first sight. I eat it raw, cooked, steam cooked. It's really interesting. My former landlord, she was so surprised that she noticed that I'm taking a bite from a raw broccoli. And she was like, how could you take that bite from? I'm like, I don't know, because I like it. I like the crunchiness of it. And, it's a big source of calcium as well. So for the people who cannot really consume milk or yogurt, that's a great substitute.
Yeah, for sure. And did your landlord not regret having you as, in her house when you were having it raw?
Well, I think that's the reason that I'm not living with them anymore.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. you mentioned about veganism as well, that you were following a vegan diet. So you were not only a vegetarian, but also a vegan. I know so many people might know the difference, but can you tell us or tell the people who might not know the difference? What's the difference between a vegetarian diet and a vegan diet?
The fundamental difference between a vegetarian and a vegan diet. So in a vegetarian diet, you can still have animal sources such as eggs, such as milk, but in a vegan diet, you have no animal sources whatsoever. So that also includes honey, basically. So vegan diet is completely plant based, whereas vegetarian diet still has some animal sources of food, but also, of course, plant based. So vegetarianism is an umbrella term, and then it's more specific, is an umbrella term for, like, a few different kinds of diets, and veganism would actually fall within there.
I see. So when you were depriving your body from even honey, okay, or eggs, I mean,
Yeah.
eggs are undetachable for me. They should be in my diet. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you will always find eggs in my fridge. Okay, without eggs, I'm dead.
Yeah.
but but that's just me. So, what are the substitutes for these? Were you taking supplements or not?
I was 100% taking supplements for my diet. Of course, in a vegan diet, you would not have as much B12. So you won't have much B12, but you also wouldn't have much iron in your diet. So you basically need to basically take supplements, capsules every day. So that unfortunately is not there, and I was doing that. And once I started doing that, of course, it started to, I mean, as I was saying, that you need to have high energy levels, but I think without vitamin B12 and iron, it's very difficult to have high energy levels. And I think it's incredibly important to incorporate these into your diet as well. And some people can make some very uninformed choices about being a vegan. So these two are very critical to include in order to feel energetic.
That's very true. And I mean, it's in your field of interest. B12 is that vitamin that helps my body, especially the blood veins and nerve cells,
Mm.
to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Well, it helps my body to create DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, it matters. It plays a vital role in genetic material in all my cells in my body. So, in that case, that you really don't have any substitute in the vegetables, imagine that you don't have access to any supplements, any pills, any tablets. What would you do?
100%. It's very difficult. I mean, I really wouldn't recommend anyone to try and go vegan without these two very critical, like, without, as you're saying, that vitamin B12 has a role in blood cell formation, red blood cell formation, and of course iron is a critical component of that. And without it, you basically cannot function. So no, my advice is, don't try to be vegan if you don't have these supplements on you. It's dangerous.
Awesome. Yeah, especially for women,
Yeah.
the iron is just play key role in their health. So tell me about the duration. How long you stayed a vegan?
I stayed a vegan for 4 months in total, and it was very difficult even for those 4 months. I used to have a cheat meal every month, actually. So I would buy some chicken at the end of the month, and I would cook a nice curry or something. It was 100% a personal choice. I think I started to have dreams about chicken at some point. so so I think it was I think it was very important for me to have, what do you call it, have basically these meat sources, especially chicken.
So you had a cheat day 1 day per month and you stayed a vegan for 4 months. What kept you to, think I cannot really continue? I mean, you told me about the benefits of being a vegan. Did you meet your dream weight and you're like, okay, I'm there. I don't need this diet anymore, or something else happened?
It's interesting, right? Like I did get to my dream weight, Amir. I easily lost around 6 to 7 kgs without even trying. And that was super nice to see. And it was a surprise as well, actually, because I was not monitoring my weight and I had gone for some medical checkups. There they checked and I was like, oh my God, this this weight is amazing. This actually sounds really good. But interestingly, for some reason, I also was not feeling full enough ever then. Like, yeah, when I had put on weight, then eating less, I didn't really feel, I used to feel satisfied with the meals, but then after 4 months, I wasn't feeling satisfied at all with my meals. So as a consequence, I guess I was like, okay, well, it's now time to basically quit this because I'm not even feeling satisfied with my meals anymore.
And I believe the cost of a vegan diet is much higher than a normal diet. Am I right?
Um, well, it really depends on how you're having your vegan diet, right? Like, for instance, if you're cooking chickpea curries, or if you're cooking nachos, which is primarily beans. So if you're having lentils or pulses with rice, I think it can actually be a lot cheaper than a vegetarian or an animal based diet. If you're, for instance, having the fake meats, so you have what do you call it? Instead of bacon, you have something called faken. So it's a fake bacon, faken. You have
What a name.
yeah.
Bacon. And and you have vegetarian sausage as well, yeah?
You have vegetarian sausages as well, plant-based chorizos. You have got plant-based patties as well. So you have basically plant-based everything nowadays. So if you have that, that's a lot more expensive. So yeah, I mean,
I see.
yeah, you need to have a lot of money for that kind of diet.
So if you go for like industrialized foods, which the food technology and food industry is producing, you have to spend more because
Hmm.
the knowledge behind them and the science behind them in order to make a food which replicates the consistency, the texture, and to some extent, the taste of a meat product is very hard. So that's why, I mean, the cost of those products is higher than their siblings, which are the meat products.
Yeah.
But of course, you cannot eat chickpeas every day. You cannot just eat avocados every day. You cannot eat Brussels every day. Um, yeah, so that's another thing to consider, especially being on a vegan diet. I know that the milk substitutes, they are not that cheap as well.
They're way more expensive. I mean, you would get what do you call it? A liter of cow's milk, let's say, if you're getting PAMS or something. It's probably around $2.35 at least the last time I purchased it. Whereas on average, you would get soy milk for a liter of soy milk for around $4.20. So you can see that there's a big difference there. I mean, in terms of calcium, and nowadays you can get like soy milk with added calcium and proteins as well. So probably you would have the same amount of those, but still, this it's a substantial difference in the price. And as you were mentioning that, about the basically why is it so much another reason why it's so much more expensive in order to the expertise that they bring is also because it's not produced very large scale, right? I mean, if it's being produced more large scale, if more people are vegan, then probably the prices can go down. But at the moment, you just see, in fact, I was reading about this Correct. I probably can be wrong about the company, so I won't say it. But there's a faken company, a fake bacon company, which has actually gone down. So it's not going to be funded anymore because the demand in the market is not very high.
Makes sense for an industry. I mean, especially after COVID, I think everything just changed, and it's really hard to go back to what was considered as an ordinary routine. Very valid point. Thanks for mentioning that. One question. You mentioned about the documentary that you saw, and it really had a big impact on your decision. Some people really believe that humans shouldn't be really superior to animals. Do you believe that humans are superior to animals?
I don't think that humans are any more superior to animals. I also so that's I don't think they are superior, but the thing is that we also have to acknowledge the fact that we in ourselves are animals too. And basically you have food chains that operate. Initially, when these food chains started, when domestication of animals started, when the agricultural era began, then the thing is that humans were basically domesticating animals and using them for food, for let's say wool, or other things. But now I think with the whole what do you call it, it's become so much, the rearing of animals and stuff, that it is basically creating a lot more waste, at least in my opinion. And animal breeding actually requires around 83% of the land, but contributes to only 17% of the calories, the total calories that in a food diet. So we have to, so I think it's, for me, I think it's not so much a question of who is superior to who, but I think it has become more a question of sustainability at the moment. Can we sustain this animal farming? Can we actually sustain the amount of methane, the greenhouse gas, which is actually 70 times more potent than carbon dioxide, to be produced in this era of global warming? The population is growing by the day. How are we going to feed so many people? So I think that's the main question for me. I don't know if it answers your question. Probably I'm giving it another
No,
tilt.
that was very insightful because you were mentioning about look at this matter from a different point of view. I mean, you were talking about management, how to manage this instead of just looking at the, hey, animals should have the same right as humans do. Let's give them job, or I don't know. It's let's treat them. I don't, let's treat them nicely.
Yeah.
They deserve more rights than us. I mean,
Pay them more than the minimum wage.
yeah, of course, they should have a piece of land of my house. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one thing, but the management, for example, I'll give you an example. We have animal welfare score in our factory. Okay, so there's a variable which determines the welfare of the chickens. So the company really cares that shouldn't be really caged, and they should be treated very nicely. They should be given a food without any hormones, without any additional unnatural component in it. And they care about their well-being as well. For example, they do not keep hundreds of chickens in a very small encapsulated area. So these are the things that the industry tries to install new criterias, and there are some auditors who regularly check the status of well-being of the chickens. So this was just an example that this can be one way to manage this animal ethic. What do you think?
I think there are a few ways of looking at this, right? Like, think about it. Like, you have a chicken and it's not in a cage and it's running around. So, back in Pakistan, at least, we used to love, in Urdu, basically, we would call it a rural chicken. And rural chicken basically would get to run around quite a lot. And some people actually just had a preference for that kind of chicken. And the reason for that was that, of course, if an animal is running around, is more healthy, their meat also is going to be juicier. So so some people had a preference for that kind of meat. So I think it would have better quality, they would have a better quality meat. But interestingly, I don't, yeah, I mean, and the chickens are happy as well, but then at the end of the day they are going to be killed. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I think, it's a good, I guess, balancing point. People get better quality meat and the chickens live a healthier life. So yeah, I think it in some ways is a win-win situation.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you can challenge it. I mean, you can challenge this idea or the decisions. But I mean, at least the decisions that are being made, they are considering the animal rights and well-being as well. I mean, maybe 10 or 20 years ago, there wasn't such a thing like that.
Yeah.
Even about the cows, about other meat sources. What you just heard was the first part of my talk with Zohaib. Stay tuned for the second part, when we continue to have deeper conversation over the vegetarian and vegan's diet. And if you want to follow other episodes, you can find more episodes of Safroni Podcast in social media under the name safroni.podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode.